Nebraska's Attorney General Mike Hilgers has filed 4 more lawsuits in Madison County as part of a series of lawsuits filed against THC shops. THC, by the way, is the main psychoactive ingredient in the cannabis plant. Today, Hilgers announced his office has tested products from 5 Norfolk shops: Smoke and Deals on West Norfolk Avenue, Smokes or Less on South 25th Avenue, Vapor Hut on West Omaha Avenue, and 2 NP Mart locations in Norfolk. Hilgers said in Norfolk, none of their tests came back as accurate. The lawsuits continue efforts to address the sale of mislabeled, contaminated, and harmful THC products to Nebraskans and even their kids.
It's extraordinarily egregious that these products are being sold in packaging meant for children. I think it's egregious that these products are getting into the hands of children. I think it's egregious that not one of the products we tested actually was accurate in its labeling to Nebraskans.
Now, we spoke with the owner of one of the shops named in the lawsuits. She addressed the process to know what ingredients are in certain products. That owner wants to know what products the Attorney General is concerned about.
A code on every package you buy, you scan it, and it gives you all the lab reports that's in that product. We have no way of testing our products when they get here, so we would like to know what that product is. We have no idea what product. We don't know. I want to make sure it was from my shop. I don't know what is going on.
Eaker also insisted her shop doesn't sell things that are packaged to look like candy. She claims her employees make sure everyone who buys her products are 21 years old or older. In fact, if Hilgers can identify the harmful products and prove that they're harmful, Eaker says she'll pull those products from her shelves. State Auditor Rob Sands says a University of Iowa employee pocketed nearly $1 million by using university equipment and employees for his own business.
And Sands says that employee also made $6,000 in improper purchases on a university purchase card. Sands says he's turned his report over to the Iowa Attorney General's office, as well as the Division of Criminal Investigation and the Johnson County Attorney's Office. He says a federal agency is looking into the allegations. KTIV State Capitol reporter Connor Hendricks joins us live tonight from Des Moines.
So Connor, how does Auditor Sands say the university can improve